Hey, what the hell's going on, you guys? It is Tuba Player NegativeAE, and welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry. Last week I thought we just yelled at Mion like crazy, like we always do. We always yell at somebody in one of these games. So today we're yelling at Mion. I think is it always Mion? I don't know. I can't remember. But we do yell at somebody pretty much every time. No, Shion. Yelled at Shion before. I don't know. Her hands were clenched into trembling fists, and she rubbed her eyes to wipe away the tears. Was what I said actually that mean? This isn't the time to cry, and we're in the gambling room now. So we have to do something to save Satoko. And as I thought that, Rena spoke, her voice cold and incredibly calm.
ケイチ君、みーちゃん家がダメなら他の裕福な家を探したら？私、ひなみ沢に立派な豪邸建てて住んでる人。
誰だよ。
白々しいよ。あれだけ立派な家に住んでて、自分の家だけは蚊帳の外？
俺の家は
仲間なんでしょ？救ってよ、ケイチ君が。みーちゃんはダメだってさ。じゃあ仲間思いのケイチ君がお手本示さなきゃダメだね。あれだけ大きなお家に家族3人。じゃあ空き部屋なんかいくらでもあるよね。余ってるお部屋いくつかさとこちゃんに分けてあげればいいじゃない。それでめでたくさとこちゃんの悩みは解決。あら何？
Alright. Let's do it.
これでもう終わり？あっけない話だったね。はいはい解決。お疲れ様。じゃあもう今日はいい？私帰るね。ランランラン。今日は久しぶりに宝探しにでも行こうかな。昨日まではずっとさとこちゃんのことが心配で全然遊ぶ気になんかならなかった。今日はどんな宝物が見つかるかな。はうー。なんか言ってよ。私だけ喋りずくめ？黙ってんじゃないわよ。聞いてんの？前原圭一。
Even the cicadas seemed to cower in fear. Rena, her shoulders bobbing up and down, and me, who had forgotten to breathe. Neon, whose face had gone completely pale, and Rika-chan, who was keeping silent as if nothing had happened. The atmosphere in the classroom grew tight and stiff, and it petrified us where we stood. I mean, I would. Why don't we do that? Why don't we invite Satoko to our house? None of the chairs Rena sat back down after having stood up. Finally allowed everyone present to take a breath.
レナが怖いのです。
I think that's a great suggestion. I think that's a good suggestion. Yeah, let's give her one of the rooms in our house. I'll go home. We can tell my parents, like, hey, like, my friend's gonna be in a tough spot. I'll help make the dinner, you know?
うん。ごめんね、リカちゃん。みーちゃんもごめん。ケイチ君には謝らなくてもいいよね。
ああ、ごめん。めちゃくちゃなこと言って悪かった。
Not even unreasonable.
さっきのあれ、私に言ってたの？みーちゃん睨みながら言ってたから、私てっきりみーちゃんに言ってるもんだとばかり思ってた。
I had such strength that you wouldn't have imagined it normally. All I did was spout terrible things as a wave of violent fury passed over me. I couldn't contend with her.
ミオン、ごめん。頭に血が上ってた。
Come to think of it, I didn't understand what had got me that riled up. I thought of myself as Satoko's Nini, so I only had good intentions. That I'd think about it a little harder than everyone else, and yet.
いいよ。私こそ、ケイちゃんが一生懸命悩んでるのに。ごめんね。私も悪かった。
I mean, to be fair, Mion was like, there's 0% chance that any of the ideas that you have would work. And it's like, alright, Mion, like, calm down. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know if we need to yell at people. I also think that I should take her in. I don't, like, can we think about that idea real quick? Can we turn back to that idea and be like, hey, let's take Satoko? That's what my friend did. My friend did that exact thing for one of our friends. They were in foster care, and my friend was just like, my friend and my friend's parents were like, let's freaking get this guy away from foster care. Like, adopt him, you know? And they took care of him for a while. How had the tragedy back then saved Totoko? How had they brought it to an end? Yeah, nobody could do anything. All they could do was bear it patiently and wait for those agonizing days to end. That's right. The one who had brought an end to those terrible days was some crazy drug addict nobody knew. On the night of the Watanagashi last year, their mean aunt had been beaten to death. But it hadn't been done to save Satoko or Satoshi. Right. It really was just a coincidence. Satoko's friends, who needed to do something for her most of all, could do nothing. The incident may have been a tragic one, but from Satoko's viewpoint, it was nothing less than a miracle. Yes, a miracle. A miracle one could only wait for.
待つしか俺たちには。
Not for evidence of abuse, not for something that minor.
何をかな。
奇跡。
I always click that button, I don't know why. No one made fun of me for using such a crazy word. We couldn't come up with any solutions, so it was the only thing we could do.
無力なんだよ、私たちは。
That one word Mion dropped was the finishing blow. It was hot. My body was sticky with sweat. The worst month, June. Are we powerless though? Why don't we murder him? Sounds like a good idea. It's not a good idea ever, but I want to join the demon group. I walked forward quite a ways and then turned right where the rice fields ended. I'd never come here before, so I had no idea where to go. I got lost several times, so I might have taken quite a long way around. Maybe I should have gone back home and gotten my bike first. It would have made everyone else worry if I'd asked them. So I asked one of our other classmates where Satoko's actual house was. That house was originally her family's, apparently, and not their uncle and wives, or in his wife's. Their house had been bigger, so they hadn't taken it for themselves. Oh, so they had taken it for themselves. Right here. Right here. Several houses all in a line. Over there? I was visiting Satoko's house, but didn't particularly intend to meet her there. I didn't mean to spy on the enemy, her mean uncle, either. Maybe I just wanted to be a little closer to her, as her Nini. Pretty words, but I didn't know if they were true. If what Tomita-kun and the others told me was right, it'd be in this house? I recognized it, my feet grew heavy. What did I come here for? My motive for coming here was absurd. When Mion had said at the end that we were powerless, it sort of made me frustrated. I just wanted to do something, anything other than waste the days away praying for a miracle. That's what made me come here. That was all. Even if I were to witness her uncle actually tormenting Satoko, what could I do? Would I act like a comic book hero and punch the guy in the face and take Satoko with me? And then live together somewhere far away? That was ridiculous.
俺は無力だ。
Cicada's voices raised in chorus sounded like they were scoffing at me. As though they were saying that if I couldn't do anything and wouldn't do anything, then I should go back home. I heard a car approaching, so I got out of its way. Then the car stopped right behind me, its horn honking shortly once. Annoyed, hadn't I gotten out of their way? I looked behind me, and I saw a familiar face looking at me out of the driver's seat window. Oishi. Guaranteed.
監督。
Oh, whoa, Coach. Jesus. Hi, Coach.
こんにちは。
It's a
前原さん。
surprise.
こんなところでお会いするとは、お家は近くなんですか？
Me being here wasn't normal. Just as I considered somehow giving him the slip, I noticed Satoko was sitting in the passenger. Ooh!
さとこ？
Satoko got out of the car and began unloading a lot of groceries from the trunk. I happened to run into Coach on my way back from shopping. He said he'd bring me home, so I accepted his offer. She wouldn't have been able to carry all those groceries on her bike. As Coach spoke, he pulled Satoko's bike out from the back seat where they put it. The grocery bags were big, and there were 4 of them. They all seemed to be packed full and very heavy. Bags. 7 smart? Hey, isn't that a little far to go by bicycle? I looked at the bags and saw they were filled to the brim with sake bottles, snacks that you eat with sake, and boxes of cigarettes. Their weight was one thing, but their contents were nothing less than luxury items.
監督のおかげで助かりましたわ。ちょっと坂道は辛かったですから。
Satoko gave Coach a smile with gratitude, but it was incredibly awkward and even heart-tending.
さとこ。
These groceries aren't for dinner tonight, are they? Of course not. I do not drink sake, and I hate snacks. What? What? You're losing reputation. You can't hate snacks. How do you hate snacks? Depends on what the snacks are, I guess. He made Satoko go to a distant store by herself on her bike so she could buy dumb shit like this? What was the uncle doing right now anyway? He's been working up a good sweat at this very moment if he needed to send Satoko out by herself, right? If not, then how much had Satoko suffered for no reason? I hadn't intended to voice my feelings. They may have made it into my face. Coach might have noticed because he clapped me on the shoulder. Just then, one of the house windows clattered open and the face of a vulgar man, the very sight of which made me immediately avert my eyes, emerged from within it. There were no self-introductions necessary. My gut told me that this was the uncle in question. The first thing out of his mouth should have been words of gratitude for Satoko. Satoko! You left the heat for the sake on when you left, you half-wit.
ごめんなさい。
I'm sorry, but you told me to go right away. You idiot. All that brewing I did for nothing. Idiot.
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。
That's a running theme. That's a running theme. It was Rena that said it in the first one, then I said it in the second one, and then she's saying it in this one. It's a running theme. It could just be mental disorders with like the abuse and shit that's going on. I don't know. I don't know. It depends on. I haven't seen everybody else's family. I don't know what Rika's life is like. Sudoku miserably apologized over and over. But then in the other ones, I don't know. I'm gonna stop talking. I don't know. Perfectly described as a small animal. I had no idea what was happening. Satoko finished shopping for all this heavy stuff that wasn't even for dinner. She only managed to come back because she ran into Coach and he drove her home. If she hadn't been found by him, she'd surely still be by herself, panting and moaning, pedaling her bicycle up that steep hill. What was with those words? Those horrible, sleazy words that he said to Satoko? In what country's dictionary did it tell him to say such things? To a young girl who just finished shopping. My anger, of course, wouldn't reach him. The uncle displayed no interest in me, instead shouting at Coach.
入江の先生じゃないですか。こんにちは。そしたら先生も上がっていきますか。
Win the last round so you can get in right away. 100 yen per 1,000 points and anything goes.
いえ、遠慮します。さとこちゃんとは偶然お会いしたんで、すぐに失礼します。
そんな、ちょっとぐらいやってってくださいな。
You got a lot of money, huh? I didn't even understand what her uncle and Coach were talking about, but I knew one thing for sure. None of what he just said, had been to thank Satoko in any way. Satoko, could you bring us the damn snacks? And start getting those beers chilled too. Go and get us some cold ones from the fridge.
てっちゃん、娘に厳しすぎや。もうちょいいたわらんとかわいそうやで。
あんな娘にゃ兄貴んちにいた頃からそうだよ。甘やかすと親の言うことをなんも聞かんやっちゃよ。
それよか、てっちゃんが
椿さんリーチしよったで。
おう、悪い悪い。なんね。椿、あんたまたリーチかいな。
Looked like it wasn't just her uncle and some of his friends were over. Hey, wait. What was he... Now, what were they doing? Flinging rude words left and right, making Satoko go shopping for your beer? What were they doing?
町からおじさまのお友達が来て、お友達のお夕食もご用意す。
なんだよそれ。
Called his friends over for Mahong? They were too busy playing, so they sent Satoko to buy a crapload of booze from a faraway store? I'm still not sure how to play that game. And the first thing he said to her was how she left the gas on? What the hell? What the hell? What does that guy think he's doing? Who could get lost in this dumb game of Mahong and send Satoko to buy all the stuff? Even though Coach was listening, he pretended he wasn't. There's a line of heavy-looking shopping bags lined up on the ground next to the trunk. My Barasan, you help too, please. You're a boy, so you can get this heavy one.
監督こんなの絶対に。
Coach pretended he hadn't heard that violent outburst either. When I thought about it later, his reaction might have been the best thing he could do in that situation. I'll carry 2 of them myself. Come on. Help us carry them, please. The bags were packed to the brim with bottles of sake and bar snacks. They were so heavy, so filthy, so unfair. They weren't just heavy in terms of weight. They made me feel mortified. Nothing could have been heavier than that.
ゲイツさん、大丈夫ですね。自分で持ちますわ。
Satoko mistook my biting back humiliation as grimacing under the weight and offered to help.
バカ。
Satoko had never looked down on my physical strength in the slightest.
監督もすみませんわね。
No, not at all, answered Coach, smiling vaguely. Coolly. But I, and I alone, knew. Coach was an adult, so he just knew how to keep his feelings from showing. There was even more anger than I was feeling, burning deep in his eyes. Well, it is heavy. Shit. It wasn't very far to the doorstep of Satoko's house, but the bag squeezed my palms and started leaving red marks. Fury welled up in me, and the back of my throat stung. But even if it all came gushing out, it wouldn't solve anything. So, just tightly gritting my teeth was as much as I could do.
本当にありがとうございます。監督もゲイ、おかげで本当に助かりましたでございます。
After we carried the back to the door, Satoko said that was enough. Occasionally, we'd hear the repulsive laughing of her uncle and her friends. Her friends? His friends? Of her uncle and her friends? I knew they weren't ridiculing us. And that was why it made me so mad. They made Satoko shop for all this heavy, selfish stuff and then ignored her and laughed amongst themselves as they pleased. It was deeply aggravating. Of course, Coach had to have felt the same way, but if he accidentally let his feelings slip onto his face, he'd only cause Satoko more worry. He knew all that and spoke coolly as if to say he didn't care.
いいえ、ささやかでもお手伝いできそうなことがあったらいつ。
お気持ちだけでも本当に嬉しいですわ。
He feels that way. Words were sad. Satoko herself was sad and resigned that we could only help her so much. But she was right. No matter how much Coach or I want to help Satoko, this was as much as we could do. I felt absolutely ashamed at not having the power to help her any more than this. Burning, boiling emotions were bubbling up within me and rising into my throat. Trembling all over, I almost started to cry from my fury.
俺も力になれることがあったらいつでも力を頑張れよな。
I wanted to at least give her those trite words, saying that I'd help her whenever she wanted.
ありがとうございますわ。わざわざこうしてここまで来てくださっただけでも嬉しかったですわ。
Satoko seemed to have guessed what I was doing in a place like this, when my house is in the opposite direction from school.
さあ、もう行った方がよろしいですわ。
They're drunk right now, so there's no telling what they'll get mad at you for. She felt guilty getting us involved after we'd helped her, because she wanted to be the only one to suffer this misfortune. That's how it looked, and it hurt. I handed my supermarket bag over to Satoko. Then I noticed the back of Satoko's hand. There was something that looked like a bruise.
おい、サトコ、お前まだ熱が。
I knew as much as anyone else how transparent that sounded. I didn't need to hear it from Satoko to know how this bruise came to be.
今年の夏風邪はなかなかしつこいようですわね。
They really just pull out the I slipped on the stairs? What the hell? That wasn't a bruise, that's just I tripped and fell on the stairs.
気になさらないでください。
嘘だろ。
Coach nudged me in the back. Then he put his index finger to his mouth to chide me for being so loud.
本当にありがとうございました。では明日、学校でお会いできるといいですわね。
そんな話してないだろ。
The evening glow finally got to a point where I could see the other concealed oval-shaped bruises and traces of swelling on her neck and her legs and other places too. I fell down the stairs. At that very moment, my violent, rampaging emotions were about to burst from their way out of my throat. I found my mouth being tightly clamped down on. Coach was pressing down on my mouth from behind, wrapping me tightly with his hands. Because of that, I couldn't say anything. I could only groan, which I did. That was all I could do. I needed to expel all the magma sitting deep within me, because otherwise I'd surely explode into a million pieces at that very moment. So I groaned. I groaned. From my mouth. From my whole body. While heat fell in drops from my eyes. I groaned and groaned. I groaned to the point of exhaustion. Absolutely everything out of myself. Even having lost my voice, I was still bringing it all out.
気持ちはわかりますから今だけこらえてください。お願いですから前原さん。
And then what happened to her, Satoko? Her body and mind were wounded. She was being made to suffer like this. Can you not even let me howl in vain at it? Is that it, Coach? Are we this powerless? So powerless that we can't even fucking scream from the bottom of our hearts? Little weird. The voice of the Higurashi made me calm down. I didn't know how long it'd been. Satoko abruptly gave a slight bow.
ありがとうございますですわ、ケイチさん。
サトコ。
今、ケイチさんが本当のニーニーみたいに見えました。私の本当のニーニーは、私にはケイチさんというニーニーがいてくれる。
そうだ。俺が、お前が辛い時、絶対に助けてやるから。ニーニーが 佐藤君きっと助けてやるからな。
Toshi Hyojo, you fucking idiot. If not now, then when? Satoko, she's never been in more pain in her life. If her Nini doesn't save her now, then when will he? Why did you run away? Why did you abandon her? Why did you leave Satoko behind? What?
俺は逃げないからな。
I don't think that's what happened at all.
絶対にサトシみたいに絶対に俺はお前を見捨てない。
And she narrowed down her eyes into a smile.
さよならニーニー
Satoko took her right hand and awkwardly waved to me.
大丈夫ですわ。今のニーニーので私大丈夫。明日まで頑張れますから大丈夫だから今日はさよならでございますわよ。
There was no way I could say bye, see you tomorrow. And then from inside the house came a throaty, disgusting voice. Satoko, did you bring us the snacks already?
さあニーニー早く行ってくださいませ。もう私は大丈夫。早く
行きましょう前原さん。これ以上は帰って聡子ちゃんに迷惑をか。
監督、ニーニーのお家は申し訳ございませんが送ってあげていただけます？
ええ、わかりました。
Coach grabbed me by my collar, and with strength I couldn't have imagined him having, started dragging me away. And I, unable to oppose him, started getting farther away from Satoko. She waved her hand to us, her expression still dark, and disappeared through the back door. Coach got into the car first and then turned around on the narrow path and brought the passenger side door around for me.
前原さんの気持ちは痛いくらいにわかります。いえ、前原さん以上に。でも今このあなたの心はだから出ないと。
もうすみません。さっきはありがとうございました。
I meekly got into the passenger seat. The car accelerated quickly, and Satoko's house grew farther and farther away in the rearview mirror. I made a wide turn, and then I couldn't see her house anymore.
え？あなたのお家、学校の反対側じゃないですか。
I didn't bother to reply. I would have been hard-pressed to give him an answer as to why I was at Satoko's house. Koshi didn't say anything more either. For a while, the two of us were silent. The only sounds from the gravel sprang over the road as we drove. I remembered how Rena said things were different than last year. At the time, she had Satoshi with her. Satoshi protected Satoko, so that less of the sparks fell onto
で
her.
も今はサトシはいない。
はい、残酷ですが、それが事実です。
Coach seemed to understand what I really meant when I said that.
悲しく、私たちの決意や努力、尽力には限界があります。
To resolve our efforts and our acceptance, it sounded like an excuse, but he was right. Even if Coach and I wanted to be people Satoko could depend on, that was all. It ended at the front door. No matter how much I shouted that I would be her Nini, no matter how much I shouted that I wouldn't abandon her, and no matter how much Satoko called me Nini, I couldn't do any more than that.
サトシは一体どこに行っちまったんですか？
Right, Satoshi was another story. Her actual brother Satoshi was in a position to protect her far, far better than we ever could. It was the cold, sad truth of the massive gulf between Satoshi and us.
今頃どこでどうしているんでしょう。
Satoshi left home. I didn't know why. Maybe it was because of Oyashiro-sama's curse, or he disappeared or something. In any case, he wasn't beside Satoko now. At the time, Satoko needed him to protect her most. he wasn't there or here.
どうして一番守ってやらなければならないこの
お社様のたたりがどうとか家出したとしか言えません。
ある日を境に帰ってこないって仲間が言ってました。妹の聡子に書き置き一つ残さずに家出を。
One of my friends said that he just never came.
サトシ君はコツコツと聡子ちゃんが当時とても結構いい値段らしくて妹思いの兄でした。叔父夫婦のもとで不憫な生活を強いられている妹に少しでも立派な誕生日プレゼントを贈ろうとしているんじゃないかってみんなささやき合っていました。
In the end, he didn't use his savings for a birthday present for Satoko.
サトシ君がいなくなりサトシ君の貯金が当日方々をいろいろと調べた結果その貯金を資金に東京の方に行ったんではないかということになりました。
Okay, we have his disappearance story. He was gonna go buy a gift for Satoko, so he drew all his money to go buy the gift for Satoko, and then something happened to him.
東京何しに
I don't think that he went to Tokyo. I feel like that's... I never... One thing...
家出としか言いようがないじゃないです
I'll
か。
talk about it at the end.
自分が逃げ出すための資金をコツコツと貯めてそこまでは勝手ですよ。でも聡子を置いてくことはないじゃないですか。同じ家出するなら聡子も連れて行くべきだった。
And now Coach was still calm. He wasn't trying to pour any oil on the fire of my anger at all. He just waited until my anger naturally subsided. After listening to gravel being crushed under the wheels for a while, Coach spoke abruptly.
察してください。置いていかれた聡子ちゃんも同じ考えに至ったんです。
I'm a burden on my brother, and that's why he abandoned me. He didn't take her with him when he left. How terrible must Satoko have felt, being betrayed by the brother she loved so much.
でももちろん親しい友人たちの支えもあってのことでしたがああして笑顔を取り戻すことができました。
Thought Satoko had spoken brightly. Oh, that's what's going on right now. Brightly, and I was eating dinner with her and Rika-chan a few days ago. At the time, I didn't think any more of it than how pleasant their sibling love had been. But now that I think about it, I realized it was like she was peering into the distance from atop a pile of tragic perseverance.
サトシ君はきっと帰ってくる。その時までにお荷物じゃなくなった自分を見てほしいって。
聡子はお荷物。あいつ俺なんかよりよっぽど生活力はあるし、そりゃレナやリカちゃんなんかと比べれば劣る点は
サトシ君がいつ帰ってきてもいいようにそういう風になれるよう涙ぐましい努力があったんですよ。
When she lived with Rika-chan, well, Rika-chan taught her how to handle everything flawlessly. Also that she could come back, she could welcome back Satoshi at any time. So that she could show him he wasn't ashamed.
で、そのサトシはいつ帰ってくるんですか?
I asked Coach, but knew he wouldn't be able to answer. In any case, Satoshi ran away. He left Satoko and ran away from Hinamizawa. Someone said that when you leave Hinamizawa and run away, Oyashiro-sama's curse gets you, right? And that made sense. Satoshi running away and his disappearance, that would obviously mean people thought it was the curse, right? They could smile. As though it were his own fault. As though he got what he deserved. Hey, Oyashiro-sama, whoever you are. Satoshi didn't vanish because he ran away. You demoned him away with your curse, didn't you? If that's not what happened, then I couldn't forgive him.
サトシはいつ頃
去年の渡辺おばが異常者に殺されてその数日後の聡子ちゃんの
サトコの誕生日に
Toko's birthday is a couple days out of Watanagashi? All the days. I'm telling you, man, he was going to buy a gift for her. That's what it was. He was going to buy a gift and then he was demoned away. By the demons. Aunt died just a few days before, didn't she? All of your days of suffering are about to end, weren't they? You're just about to start thinking about a new life, weren't you? Drawn to be happy about someone dying, but for Satoko and her brother, her birthday had come at a critical turning point. Their mean uncle had fled town and the siblings would be left alone. They should have been able to be happy about that on Satoko's birthday. Satoko was probably waiting for her brother to return that whole time. Waiting for her brother to return when he never did. Waiting with bated breath for her brother to return, with hopes and dreams of a new life to come growing even larger. But no matter how long she waited, he didn't come back. He didn't even contact her. Satoko, trembling in anticipation of the great present, just when would she have to face the cold, terrible truth? Satoshi, you fucking idiot. I could feel my blood rising to my head, and my anger at Satoshi. I was frustrated, was aggravated, couldn't forgive him. Satoko still respected and adored her brother, and yet he so heartlessly betrayed her. Such a person wouldn't just come back, now when he was the most needed. No one would protect her, not even her real brother Satoshi.
だからあなたがニーニーだと認めてもらえて、私もさとこちゃんの幸せを祈る一人ですが、私がさとこちゃんのために、でもあなたは違い、学校で生活を共にし、さとこちゃんやさとしくん、あなたは自分ができる、それでも私よりはずっとさとこちゃんに、だから私の分までそう願っています。
そんなこと監督だって。
もちろん年季のある私だ。同じようにあなたにしかできない助け、私たちは互いにそれを全うすべきだと申し上げたいのです。
Is that a little too complicated? Coach added that, but I shook my head in response. When I heard him say that, or he had job skills, it reminded me that he was an adult and in a different position from all of us. Maybe I should ask him about it. You know a lot about laws. I know less than the average person. Why? I thought back to when I argued with Mion and the others about Satoko. Our children's argument had only left us with the conclusion that we had to wait and see, but what would an adult think? What was it, the child welfare law? As an emergency measure to secure the safety of a juvenile, they can force him or her to separate from their parents. They can do that? So then we could rescue Satoko from her uncle right away.
さとこちゃんがそれを望まないかもしれません。
Unless the person being abused wants shelter anyway, it doesn't go that far.
サトコがどうして？
Coach didn't answer me. I didn't know why he didn't. It was clear as day that Satoko's uncle was being violent and treating her like a slave. So then why? I clamped down on my frenzied emotions and waited intently for Coach to answer. But he never did. It was like he was pretending he hadn't heard me. As if to say it was more like he wanted to explain, but he couldn't put it into the right words.
さとこちゃんは多分そういう仕打ちに耐えるのを
試練？変な宗教じゃあるまいし。
ご存知と思いますが、さとしくんはさとこちゃんも甘えてきたと言うべきかもしれません。
I'd known for a while that Satoshi had always protected Satoko from their aunt and uncle. That was his duty as an older brother, not something to worry about.
それがトラウマにな、自分が兄にもたれかかりすぎたから兄が自分を嫌ってしまったんではないかってね。
For Satoko, the current situation was a retelling of the story of a little over a year ago, but this time Satoshi wasn't here.
だからそういう力を身につけなければそういう考えになっていると私は考えます。
Now that he mentioned it, Satoko had never said a word about how hard it had been before. I figured she was being threatened not to talk about it, but I talked with everyone and we were wondering if we should report it to the Child Consolation Center. I've heard that a social worker was visiting Satoko-chan last year. Yes, that and they decided to wait and see, and we thought maybe that made her get tormented even more. was apparently Satoko-chan had reported it herself, and as a result, the abuse worsened, but was just kept out of sight. She was under even more torment, and the burden on Satoshi-kun for protecting her rose considerably. She wouldn't be thinking it was her own fault for reporting it, would she? Coach nodded quietly. Satoko-chan would probably either hate it if you suggested reporting the abuse, or feign the courage and say that you didn't need to. And even if you reported it in secret, she'd probably insist to the social worker that she wasn't being abused. Satoko always acts tough, and doesn't readily admit defeat, so I could imagine that easily. And there are strict limitations on this emergency measure. The Child Consolation Center would need permission both from the court and the concerned party. If the abuse was known to the public, they could forcibly shelter her even if she denied it. For Satoko-chan, that would probably mean losing. This isn't about winning or losing. It's real life. Satoko, she's back on the topic. After they placed her under their protection, she would be sent to child care institution or the like. And she would basically be living there, so it would mean moving away. And with the change in residence would come a change in schools too. That changing schools, it has to be done. If that's what it'll take for her to be safe. Satoko understands all those things. All the more reason for her not to want it.
あの家でサトシ君の帰りを待つのがサトコちゃんの生きる兄に捨てられた少女が何に生きる理由を見出したかあなたのでなくサトコちゃんの価値観で
Felt like he was trying to confuse me with that hard to understand. The point was that I couldn't do anything about Satoko wanting to stay in that house, and that I should watch until she gives in. In the end, no matter what I said, Coach himself was saying to wait and see.
俺は
はい
本当にサトコが危ないと感じたら誰の意思も聞かずに行動します。その結果サトコは不快な思いを最終的にはそれがサトコの幸せにつながると信じます。
Coach turned to me and gaze fixed into my eyes. It was written all over his face. He was shocked and what such a young kid
ど
had
うし
said.
てあなたはそこまで
Coach, no rather normal adults might not have understood. So I taught him the creed and the values that I believe
サト
in.
コは俺のそして俺はサトコのニーニーだから。では理由は足りませんか？
I stared at him with a will strong and unbreakable as steel as his eyes betrayed a tiny bit of unrest.
いえ足りないなんてことはありません
We were silent for a while until finally Coach said only
誓
that.
ったじゃないですか俺たち。
すみません
サトコを絶対に泣かせないって。
We made a vow on that day at the barbecue party. I didn't think about it hard at all, but Coach and I still made a promise. We would never ever let Satoko cry. Jesus. Coach gave a dry grin of regret, immediately apologizing for not remembering. One way or another, when he grinned like that, it made me think of his enthusiasm for saving Satoko. Made me think that saving Satoko was a tiny bit smaller than mine. Jesus. He lightly hit the brakes, making a skidding noise, and leaned forward.
ひょっとして前原さんのお家って前原屋敷が前原さんのお家だったんですね
Before I knew it, we were almost to my house. Alright, that's the end chapter. Alright, cool. We got through the chapter. Okay, there's a lot to unpack. Case 31. It's interesting. We'll read that when we come back. I have some stuff to talk about. Satoshi didn't disappear like on purpose. I'm of the belief. I know it's a very weird belief, but I believe that no one's evil. No one's just gonna be like, oh, that's like my sister. I'm gonna leave her behind because like fuck it. You know, everybody has a reason for doing the things that they're gonna do. And they may not be very good reasons. They might be terrible reasons. But I can't imagine that that Satoshi is just a villain. He's just like, fuck my sister. After my aunt dies and my uncle moves away, I'm gonna leave her all alone by herself, a little tiny child. Especially with how he's described as a character. He's described as a character as being like protective of Satoko and stuff like that. No one makes just an immediate 360 and then leaves. He was saving for a big present for Satoko. He took all the money for the thing, and on her birthday he was going to get her a gift, and then he disappears somehow. I don't know how, but that's exactly, I imagine, the events that go down. On Satoko not wanting to leave the house, I think that's probably, if we're gonna join the demon group, I think it's gonna be this episode, any episode, because we are kind of, we're like hopeless, you know. And then if I guarantee if Mion's like, you know what, why don't we just get rid of him? Why don't we just kill him or something? Like if it leads up to that and I'm like super angry, and then Mion's just like, let's just kill him then. And then everybody's like, well, that's not really a bad idea, you know? And then we all like get together and we're like, oh, we're the demon group. Blip, blip. Then you get to see like Rena fucking like destroy shit. I don't know. I think it would freak Maybara out though. I think it would freak Keiichi out to see like Rena and Mion go like ape shit. I don't know. I don't know if they can go ape shit. The biggest display of demonness that I've seen is from the first one. I believe it's the first one. Yeah, the first one where they like chase me down with like evil townspeople, and like they hold me back and try to inject me with a drug. Remember that? That was some demon shit. That was some like, I have powers. I'm really stronger than normal. Like I can't be defeated. That was some demon shit. But then the second one, they like dialed it back. Like, are there demons? Who knows? But they like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna stop talking before I go on for like a million minutes. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, please hit the like button. I also enjoy reading all you guys' comments. If you have a comment and you would like to comment it, I will read it 100%. I love reading the comments. And then subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I will see you guys in the next episode, whenever that may be. And peace out, you guys.